What's going on, everybody? All right, we are in June. A lot of good things, a lot of fun things happening in June. Had a great weekend. Went out and saw Coldplay with the family. The four of us drove into the Bay Area. It was held at the Stanford Football Stadium, and that was fantastic. Coldplay knows how to put on a show. We had a great graduation for Lucy. Thank you for all the well wishes for her. But looking forward in the month, before you know it, earlier in this, so I did my Midlife Live for the month of May, late in the month. Early in June is when we'll have Midlife Live 6. I am very excited about this panel. Now, two of the people that will be on the panel have never been on the channel before, but are two of the most entertaining people in the YouTube card community. I cannot wait. So mark your calendars. It's going to be Tuesday, June 10th. Tuesday, June 10th will be Midlife Live 6. Later in this week, I will be sharing what the panel will look like. You will enjoy it. You will not want to miss this one. So thank you to the first 5 and everybody who has shown up. And I am excited for a week from tomorrow for Midlife Live number 6. Again, more details on that later in the week. Now, a week ago, I asked a question to all of you, which I think is a really interesting one. And again, it wasn't my idea for this question. It was my friend Matthew over at 1956 card guy. 56 Tops card guy. Matthew's got an Instagram account, which is very entertaining because he has an amazing collection. He's also part of a YouTube group that does some live streams, podcasts. They call themselves the Rough Cuts, and really, really good stuff. And he asked, hey, how do others enjoy their card collection after they acquire the cards? Because we know we get this high when we add a card to the collection. We get excited. And then for some of us, it just goes into like a box and it just sits there. How can we continue to find enjoyment from our collection? And that was what I posed to all of you. And quite frankly, a lot of really good feedback, things I had never considered before. Some things I'm doing, which I'll show. Some things I'm not doing, which we'll talk about. I'm going to give you a little bit of a tour of my card room so you can see some of how I try to enjoy my collection after I've acquired cards. So I think this is going to be a fun one because I think this is something that we all battle. We love cards. We love adding cards to the collection, but then once you get them, how do we keep getting joy from them? Besides simply having them, how can we continue to enjoy them? I think that's a struggle for some of us. So, some of your feedback here in a minute. You know, I always get quite a few responses, and I love that so many people chime in. I probably had 25 responses to this question from last week, and I'm going to share about 10. That does not mean that the other 15 aren't great responses, but I try to pick and choose ones with a variety of different thoughts, a variety of different backgrounds to share. I would encourage anybody to go back to last week's episode and read through all of the responses because a lot of you had great ones that I didn't include. Again, I can't include all of them, but I'm always going to include some of them. And some of them I'm going to share starting right here. One way to enjoy your cards is to display them. My buddy Lou over at Lou Rock TV says, "Hey brother, I just did a video myself on this question. Am I content with my collection?" It was more tongue-in-cheek because if I never buy another card, I will still be happy with my collection. Look, I love finding deals, looking through value boxes, or on the rare occasion, finding a diamond in the rough at the flea market. I wish I can just continue buying cards nonstop. But we all know this is not feasible, so what do? I immerse myself in my collection. I'm blessed and fortunate enough to have a card room, man cave. I have several large displays with different themes such as Hall of Fame rookie cards, Hall of Fame autos, and I'll display different Yankee cards. I love rotating my cards around, and these displays and even enjoy on my desk. Shoot, I have one display that I just call Cool Cards. It has anything from Jordan, Kobe, Montana, Marino, but for some reason, my Billy Ripken FF card always remains. Another way I enjoy my cards are through video responses. VRs give me another reason to dig through my collection to talk about or even learn something new about my collection. It's just another way YouTube has helped me enjoy my card collection. Craig to Greg. To answer your questions on how I enjoy my cards, I've mounted a large display case in my office that holds 55 graded cards. I thoroughly enjoy changing out the cards every so often as I get to enjoy a new look and new cards I will place in the display. Also, I put brand new purchases on my desk to enjoy on plastic card holders. However, this never replaces the National Card Show picture of my father and I that I always have displayed on my desk. He passed away recently, and I blame him for my passion. Love you, Dad. All right, displaying your cards. Now, these can be on wall displays, and these could be on card stands. I have a couple of each. If you've never checked out Lou's channel, I'm sure that you probably have. He's got one of the best card rooms. Very envious of the wall space, of his cases, of how he's able to share his collection. Something I hope to aspire for at some point. But first, let me share how I display some of my cards by giving you a quick tour of my card room / office. And I haven't done this in a while, so let me kind of share how I have things laid out in my area of displaying my cards. Let's look here first. All right, so in my card room, I have a display case, and this is my run of Yankee captains, except I don't have a Ruth or a Gehrig yet. And that's that first row is Yankee captains, and then the second row, I've got some more. I don't have a Judge up in the case, but I have some Judge cards. And then here are some of my T206 Hall of Famers, the not as expensive ones. So I like having these displayed. I just think that they're super beautiful cards. You can see the Kelly and Jennings and Miller and Flick and some others. I think the Ginger Beaumont there on the far right is the only one not a Hall of Famer in the case for the T206s down at the bottom. And again, those Yankee captains at the top. There is my Babe Ruth art piece. That is a pencil drawing of Babe Ruth playing golf. And then that is a picture. I've shown this once before that was commissioned of me and my daughters. There is my Jack Nicklaus autograph photo. And then this bookshelf has a few cool items on it. Here are several gifts that I've been given. My buddy David gave me that grant card recently. That Judge was from Double D Dillon. So I like to swap out some cards, specifically gifts usually in the cases there. And then I've got some books. I've got some of my video game collection. There is my pinhole collection from my buddy Mook. That is proudly displayed. Then I got some of my binders.
Some of those are some gifts from all of you and my 79 set, some childhood cards, and then some of my other storage for some of my collection. And then again, right up at the top, right up here, I have that is an art piece of our home course. And then this I've shown before. It's the ticket for the day that Tiger tied up Rocco Mediate and forced a playoff at the U.S. Open.
All right, so as you can see, I have one case on the wall. I've got some Yankee captains in it. I've got some T206s in it. I don't have any of my most expensive cards because I don't know. I think I'd be nervous if I had them out. I try to keep them out of the light. I had a little bit more light on so you could see them there, and that's part of why you had some glare. And I rotate those. I've not always had my Yankee captain run in there. I've not always had T206s in there. I kind of occasionally swap that out. So one thing that I like to do is swap out that case. Now, on the wall where I had the Babe Ruth sketch, the Babe Ruth pencil drawing, and the commissioned painting of me and my daughters, I'm planning on adding at least one case there, rearranging some things in a way. I'm probably going to end up putting a couple of cases up, possibly when I finish my pirate set. If that happens, I hope it happens. I'm going to probably put those up for a while, maybe circulate through those. And then I had in that bookcase behind my chair there, I had a few cards displayed. I cycle through those. You saw a couple of cards, a couple of gifts from some of you. So I think occasionally, it's sort of like, my wife, she's got around the house, she has different kind of holiday themed decorations. And around Thanksgiving, she has some things she puts up and then takes them down. And then Christmas, she puts some different things up and then takes them down. Around Easter, she has some things she puts up. It's sort of like the same sort of thing where you have this different sort of rotation. And I think that that's a good way to do it. And some of us have more space. Some of us have more cases. Some of us have more stands. But taking an opportunity to occasionally go, oh, it's been a couple of months. I'm going to go ahead and take these things down. I'm going to put a couple other things up. And sharing your collection that way. So when you have people come through. So for example, Lucy's got a graduation party coming up. So there will be people in the house. And I go, when was the last time some of those people were over? Let me put up some different things into my cases before that so that I can share some different cards than the last time that they were over. So I think using it as almost like a decoration piece in an area by continuing to cycle them through, it makes it easy to share without having to go, hey, I want to sit and look at my cards and pull out a box and hand them a stack of things to flip through. That is definitely one way to do it. So the restriction, it kind of is, well, we don't want to necessarily have sitting out in a display some of our most expensive stuff because of obviously the safety of those cards and also exposing them to light and stuff. But for some of our cards that aren't crazy expensive, this is a good way to do it and to have them out. And I know it's not for everyone and it's not for every price point, but it is a fun way to do it. And at the end of the day, a lot of vintage cards I see is like pieces of art, and legitimate pieces of art can be displayed as art. And that's what I think a lot of these cases do. Now, I believe I got my case off of Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. There's a lot of different options out there. there are different card shops sell things, and Michael's has some things, and different stores, art stores have some things. But I think I just went off of Amazon and found what I have up. So I know my buddy Darren over at, you know my buddy Darren. Darren! Return to Collecting Darren, my off-topic partner Darren. I think he has a couple behind him in whenever he's on camera. And I think he told me he got his off of an Etsy store. So you can always go over to Etsy and check stuff out too. So those are some options. But if that's not your thing as a way to enjoy your cards, let's look at a couple of other options that some of you brought up right here.
Another option is to enjoy digital images of your cards. My good friend Dave says, great video as usual. Regarding next week's question, first, I get enjoyment in sharing my cards with others. Generally, people enjoy looking at cards, particularly if they're involved in the hobby. Next, I do enjoy looking at my cards, but unfortunately, I have to keep them in a safe deposit box, so I actually view them only about once a month. To compensate for this, I have scanned my cards and loaded them on a digital picture frame. The frame is located in my office, and the scans of my cards are continuously cycled for viewing. Not as good as seeing the actual cards themselves, but it's a close second. I only have a few cards, but it has the capacity for over 10,000 cards. And the legendary Mike Petty says, after I buy a card and it's safely delivered, I like to scan them and check them in and welcome them to their new home. They didn't deserve to be sent all over the country for profit and quick flipping from some a-hole that didn't appreciate them. Much like a stray dog tied to a bench didn't deserve to be left at the shelter. I get enjoyment from scanning my cards and scrolling through them from various times during my day and sometimes at night when I fall asleep. I have to pinch myself when I see the my appeal of all the cards I have been fortunate enough to add to my collection. I think I like this better than breaking them out in plastic slabs and having them clanking all over the place, though I do like that too. I also don't look at the raw cards I have as much as I should, but do so occasionally hands-on. I used to love to sort the cards as a kid and put them in rubber bands. Team order, then number order, and back again. I don't do that much anymore. I just have them together by year. After I get my cards, I post them on Instagram to show them off, and I watch some YouTube content to see if I've got the same card, and I get them out and love them again. But this week, I think I'm going to drop my first video on my channel.
Okay, so first off, my guy Dave. Dave is my friend who I met at the National last year, who has one of the most incredible high-end collections I've ever seen. And I did an interview with him, a 2-part interview back in December. And, he's got an incredible collection. And he talked to me about how he displays it and how he uses one of those digital picture frames where, you've probably seen those, where it's basically you load a bunch of pictures in and it just kind of does a slideshow, an ongoing slideshow. And by displaying that picture frame and loading up your card collection, you can continually see your card collection. And I think that's a great way to do it. And I had never even thought about that until Dave mentioned it in that interview. And I'm glad that he shared here as a response for all of us. And it's not something that I've done. It's something I think I'm going to do, though. I think it's a great idea to have a digital picture frame with some of your more high-end cards that you want to share, but you don't want to have on permanent display. And then my buddy Mike Petty, I got to ride in a plane. So I flew to Denver for a layover on the way to Strongsville, met up, and I showed pictures of my Strongsville videos where I rode in a plane with Mike Petty on my left and Darren returned to collecting on my right. And one of my favorite parts of that plane flight, besides hanging out with two of my good pals, is Mike Petty brought his iPad. And he has, not all of his collection was loaded on it, but a lot of his collection was loaded on it. And I sat there in the middle between these two guys and I scrolled through the digital images of Mike Petty's amazing collection. And as we're sitting there, I was asking him a question. When did you get this card? How did you acquire this card? Tell me about this one. And it was pretty, I mean, in some cases, the iPad that he had was a large iPad, and it allowed you to look at the cards without having to physically handle the cards. Because again, a lot of people in the community have some very high-end stuff. Dave and Mike Petty, two in particular, have really high-end collections, and they want to keep them safe. But looking at images, high quality, high def images on digital platforms is a pretty good option. And in some cases, the image is bigger than the card itself, quite a bit bigger. You get a great look at it. Mike Petty has a scanner where he scans them in, so there's no glare. They're beautiful images. And it was so much fun scrolling through his collection and talking with him and asking him questions about them. We probably spent at least an hour and a half of that plane flight looking at Petty's collection, talking to him about where he got the cards, how he got the cards, the story behind the cards. Many of these I had seen before, but to see them all in one place and to scroll through them was truly a lot of fun. I think that's a great option. So the digital picture frame is a great idea. I think scanning them all and putting them into, some sort of picture display or just in your images, like make a folder in your images folder and looking at them on your iPad is a great option. And then the last comment was how he scans in his pictures and posts them to Instagram, because part of the fun of having your collection is having them at your fingertips, but also sharing your collection. And I know my buddy Tony, Southern Collector 14, has scanned in his cards and he's shared them to Instagram. Petty is on Instagram and uploads pictures of his new editions. So having digital images that you share either through something like a social media like Instagram, or a digital picture frame, or through a folder where you have your pictures saved, like in something like just your photos on an iPad, are great ways to enjoy your collection without having to go into the box, physically take them all out. And it's something that I want to do this summer. This summer, I want to get good digital images of my whole collection that I can then load up into potentially a digital picture frame, into an iPad, into my iPad, and look at them through my iPad. So when people come over, you don't have to have all of these cards clanking around. But if they want to say, I want to see this one, you can grab it if you have everything organized well. And when I showed my video there of my card room a few minutes ago, down at the bottom of that bookshelf, I had a couple of cases, sort of like Zion cases, but they're like the knockoff version. If someone says, I want to see this card. Can I see this card in person? Yeah. Go in there and dig it out. Or, I have a safe where I have some stuff stored. As long as everything's organized, you can go there, you can access it, and you can show them the actual physical copy as well. So I think taking high-def pictures or scans of your collection is a great way to share it. And that's part of the fun of having a collection, is sharing the collection. Let's look at a few other suggestions.
What about good old-fashioned binders to see your cards? And my friend Jay says, I really have been looking forward to this video, and it was fantastic. Could not wait to hear what others had to say. Listening to this made my day start off so great. Thanks for the video, and thanks for sharing. My answer for next week's question is, once I acquire cards, I love going through them occasionally myself. I'd love to eventually have a display case on the wall where I can just walk in, look around, and smile. This would be much easier than pulling them out of cases. Having my cards in binders also allows for easier access to a larger amount of cards to flip through. But the most satisfaction that I get is sharing them through the YouTube platform with other collectors. There really seems to be a joy from it, more than I could have possibly imagined. I really do recommend that if you are a collector, take that jump into YouTube. You don't have to be a technology extraordinaire to have an amazing channel. Great question. I continue to enjoy cards in a few different ways. First, I rotate cards and memorabilia on my desk, on a chest of drawers in my bedroom, and on a wall in my apartment. I frequently change things up. Second, I have a small YouTube channel and am often thinking about ways to create an episode based on the cards that I have. Often those ideas lead to looking for other cards to put together an episode. Third, I will sit down with my binder and find a player to research. Baseball Reference is a bottomless rabbit hole. I have a database complete with all the information and connections on these players. I use that information to brainstorm about YouTube content, which often leads to hunting for more cards, which gives more options to display at my office and apartment. Repeat, repeat, repeat.
Okay. So first off, binders, there are lots of options for binders. And I'm going to show you one of the options I have. Now, my buddy Dylan, Double D Vintage Baseball Cards, Adam of Splendid Sports, John Mangini, they all have a variety of binders, including the binders that you can actually put slabs in. And I know Mangini recently did a video where he talked about how you can fit in the slabs for PSA, but SGC slabs also fit in there. They're just super tight, as a super tight fit. Those guys use those a lot. They've talked about those a lot. Check out some of their videos to see those. But a lot of my collection isn't graded. And so what type of binder? Now, when I showed that video a few minutes ago in my card room, you could see some traditional binders. But my friend Shane over at Shoebox Legends, he swears by these Z Folio binders. And I'd kind of heard of them, never had one. Well, last year during the holidays, I bought one. And I had so much fun putting together a Z Folio. So I only bought one because I just wanted to try them. Very affordable. I think I bought my Z Folio through Amazon. And I just went through and I loaded up 2 of the players that I collect, that I have a lot of cards in ungraded form. And so I thought I would show you my Z Folio, my first Z Folio, of potentially in the future quite a few more. But this Z Folio has a lot of my Greg Nettles cards and a lot of my Roger Clemens cards. So let me show you my Z Folio that is not fully organized, but is largely organized. Let's take a look at that here.
So I do have some traditional binders, but I also have this Z Folio per my buddy Shane's recommendation, and I love it. It's beautiful. So I am putting together a Nettles run of O-Pee-Chee and Topps Now, some I have in cases, so they're not in here, and a couple of them I don't have. There's the 75s, including the Mini. So again, I'm trying to put his whole Topps run together in Topps and O-Pee-Chee. Have a lot of them, missing a few. And then I have a bunch of other Nettles cards in the back, besides his Topps run there. Some of these were gifts from you guys. Some of them I picked up along the way. And then I have my Clemens run. I have organized my Clemens cards by team that he was with. So I have, starting off, quite a few Red Sox cards of Clemens, mostly chronological here. Got a starting lineup up there from my childhood, couple starting lineups back there. And then, obviously, after his time with the Red Sox, he went over to the Blue Jays. So, again, most of the cards are Red Sox. And there's some Blue Jay cards of his. And then he went over to the Yankees. I have some of his Yankee cards. Card in the middle right was a gift from Adam, Splendid Sports. And then some Astros Clemens. And there are other ways to enjoy them as well. This one says, my son and I sit down together every now and again and look through the cards we have collected. We pick a different sport to look through every few weeks. We share memories about where and how we procured the cards. It is a great time for us to bond and share the hobby. We also like to share cards with my dad whenever he is in town. My dad is not a collector, but loves looking at vintage cards from his childhood. He is a huge baseball fan and loves the history of the game. He especially likes to share stories about the Milwaukee Braves or the Packers with us. And finally, this one says, to answer next week's question, I like to sort my cards by sport since I collect all sports, primarily Hall of Fame rookie cards. Then I take my best cards and put them in clearly labeled display cases which hold 50 graded cards each. This makes it easy to find and view the cards I want to look at and enjoy. Those cases are labeled like this: vintage baseball, modern baseball, vintage football, modern football, vintage basketball, modern basketball, all hockey. And then I have two other cases, which I put all my best 49ers cards, my favorite team, into a single case, and the other case is only for Hall of Fame auto cards. I also put any card I plan to sell in a large plastic bin, the sell bin. This system is great for me because when I purchase a new great card, I can easily swap out another card and decide if I want to sell the swapped card or put it into a different PC bin. The fun is buying a new card and then making the tough decision of which card to demote. I can always promote the card at a later date as well, or add a new case, which I have done in the past. I love showing off my display cases to my family members, and they can really feel my passion for the hobby. I also love gifting cards to my brothers or my son, since I know who their favorite players and teams are.
All right. I think there were some great comments in there. And there were a couple of themes throughout this video. But first, one of the things I want to look at is the comment about looking through his collection with his son sharing his collection with him. When his dad comes over, so his son's grandpa comes over, they look at cards together. Finding a hobby buddy, especially a generational family member, is something that I think is fantastic. Even if you don't think that your kids are interested in cards, saying, hey, I want to show you some of my cards, and sharing your passion, I think they're picking up more than you realize. So I think that is absolutely a fantastic idea, and I love the generational aspect of that. Now, another thing that has been mentioned, well, first, before I get to that, let me jump back to the last comment there. he's got different boxes, like his top 50 football cards, his top 50 baseball cards. And when a new card goes in to the top 50, something gets bumped. I thought this sort of like, it's sort of like English soccer where what card's going to get relegated to the other box. I thought that was a really fun idea. If you have a top 25 and then 26 through 50 and then, 51 through 75 or whatever. And if a new card moves up, maybe you got to go through every once in a while. Oh man, did one of my 26 through 50 cards, did its value go up? Is it trending up? A different card is trending down. Or every once in a while you have to go through and go, what moved down? What moved up? And resort them, re-rank them. I think that's fun. And even if it's not a re-rank of value, maybe it's a re-rank of priority. Maybe it's a re-rank of your interest in them. Maybe a certain couple of cards in your collection have moved up in your heart and a couple others have kind of moved down and need to get relegated down. I thought that was a super fun idea of continually ranking your cards. Fun thoughts that a lot of you shared. Now, another thing, this is where I was starting to go a second ago. A lot of you mentioned sharing your collection. And when you say, why do so many people have a YouTube channel? Why do so many people have an Instagram account? Why do so many people have a Facebook account? Well, it's a great those are great platforms. Social media is a great opportunity for us to share our interests. And in a lot of cases, other people are interested and they are rooting for you. They want to root for you. Whether it be Instagram, which is mostly pictures with some commentary, or Facebook, same sort of thing, or YouTube, where it's video-based, there are other like-minded people in this world who have some interests that you also have. And a great way to share them is through social media. If you are a collector out there who doesn't have Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, find whichever platform you're most comfortable with where you can share with others. There is a ton of camaraderie out there in this world of people who want to see what you have. You're not burdening others by sharing. They're not doing you a favor by looking at your stuff. There are people who want to see your collection. Share it. It's fun to share it. I think we can all pretty much agree with that. It's fun to share our card collection. I find it interesting that some people don't want to share, or maybe they're cautious to share, or maybe they're nervous to share. You can go by an unknown name. You don't have to have your name attached to it. You're not putting yourself at risk. Be anonymous. Go by a nickname. There are other people in this community who aren't using their real names, and that's okay. But it's a fun place to share your collection and share in the camaraderie with others. Now, one of the things that I think does happen as a result of sharing collections is I do feel like a lot of people out there go, I want that. That's an amazing card that I want, but I don't have. Should I maybe sell some of my other cards to try to acquire that? Part of social media and part of sharing is you're exposing other people to cards that maybe they didn't know about, or maybe they didn't know that they liked it as much as they like it. Well, that has pros and that has cons. And one of the things that I think has happened as a result of social media is a lot of people have decided to consolidate. They've decided to sell parts of their collection to acquire bigger, larger, more expensive cards in their collection. And I think in a lot of cases, that's because people have seen others share a card that now they've really taken interest to. So my question for this coming week, which is something that I plan on also bringing up in the live stream next week on June 10th with my panel to be announced soon, is that question. Is the whole consolidation movement in the card community, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it just a thing? Is it not good or bad? It's just, but it does feel like that's happening. Is it good that people are kind of trading up? Is it bad that people are trading up? Is it devaluing smaller cards? Is it overvaluing bigger cards? I have a lot of friends who bought, starter houses when they were a little bit younger. And now they've made a little bit more money. They've acquired a little bit of, equity in their house. And they move into a bigger house, more of a forever house or more of a upgraded house, a more expensive one. Does that mean that they've turned their back on their first house? Does that mean that it's good that they've moved into a bigger home, a more comfortable home, maybe a better neighborhood? Is that a good thing that people move up? Is that not the same thing as selling off some cards to buy a bigger card? I want to hear your thoughts on this, because one thing that I have noticed a lot over the last, 2-3 years, is a lot of people are selling less expensive cards in their collection, and they're moving into bigger cards in their collection. They're consolidating from many cards into fewer cards, but each of those fewer cards being bigger, more expensive, more elite, I guess. I don't know if you want to place value on them, not just financial value, but the motivation of, I want to get this guy's rookie card instead of having several of his other cards. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I want to hear your thoughts on that. And I'm going to discuss some of that next week when I go over your comments. But also, it's a topic I'm going to bring up in the live stream. Midlife Live 6, June 10th, 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm looking forward to this discussion from you and continuing it into that stream.